Hello. Thank you for joining me once again. I am reading The Children of the Law of One and the Lost Teachings of Atlantis by Jon Peniel. Wonderful book. I'm enjoying it very much. And those who are continuing listening along, I know that you are enjoying it as well. Don't forget to share it with others, subscribe and like. Oh, and for those who are joining me for the first time, welcome to you as well. And I will hope that you will continue to listen as I read. So without further ado, we are on page 247 at chapter 16 at the part of visualization and affirmations. Good stuff. Let's see what they have to say. Okay? Visualizations and affirmations. Visualizations and affirmations are two tools you can use to communicate to your subconscious and altering your programming. As we have covered already, the subconscious mind, being very much like a computer, needs to have a program to run. The programming there determines most of the mental and physical aspects of your being. The programming has had no conscious programmer. It has been programmed from birth by a flood of external influences, mostly negative. It is the programming of the biocomputer of yourself, a separate entity in a world full of separate entities who are all looking out for number one, always seeking self substantiation. During my time as a novice, I didn't really understand the seriousness of this. I asked Zain, why is it so emphasized here? And in the ancient teachings of Atlantis, that we must think of our thoughts as programming, pay so much attention to them, and devote so much of our time to it. Oh, I forget. That's sarcasm. It is simple, obvious. Just think that's what makes everything just thinking. Remember, action follows thought. The physical is the result of mental activities. The mind is the builder. Everything is the result of mere thoughts. Thus, it is vital to be able to communicate with and alter the programming that affects the mind. It all begins and ends there. That's why it is so important and why it is taught that so much attention must be given to it. Remember, too, that for you to be in your proper place in the order of things and experience peace and oneness with the universe, the mind should be used as a tool for the manifestation of the universal forces in the physical plane. But you have free will and can choose to disregard universal spirit. So that will you so what you will you have your programming build in your life and the lives of others. If you realize the importance of this and decide to take control of your programming and thoughts, there are specific tools that can help you do so. Go read this now, and we will speak more of it afterwards. So here's some more italic text, okay, which is original text. Make real in your mind, and your mind will make it so. Relive actions in the realm of the mind, making it right to repeat it not. Always speak to your mind in a manner that shows it what you desire to achieve as the positive outcome. In, in speaking to your mind, never forget, in speaking to your mind, never fight the negative with itself. In a direct struggle, good will lose to evil. Making strong in the good and evil will be gone. Be ever vigilant, intending to your mind. Turn from your negative thoughts, use your free will, dwell only on positive thoughts, and success is assured. Use not powers of mind, but for developing virtue and to serve universal will. Affirmations. Affirmations are positive statements or directions you make to yourself in order to bring about changes in subconscious behavior patterns to whatever you will them to be. Even before I had a chance to talk to Zayn after reading the text he told me to look up, I ran into Michiel, who just out of the blue had this to say to me. Using an affirmation is like planting a seed in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind, and like a seed, it needs daily tending or it may die. For this reason, affirmations are tools that are used daily and frequently by those who wish to change. It would be best if you received your individual affirmations from your personal true teacher, for he would best know what you should be working on for your particular situation. If it is not possible for you to get your affirmations from your true teacher because you have none or have not found one yet, you could ask God for guidance for affirmations during meditations, or just think about negative, selfish traits you have that you know you need to change, or positive traits you would like to acquire. If it is not possible for you to get your affirmations from your true teacher, wrong paragraph. Later, I met with Zayn and asked him more about the subject. Father, what is the best way to use affirmations to change? For those who really desire to change as quickly as possible, a positive affirmation should be done instantly. Every time someone brings up to you an improvement you could make about yourself or points out a fault. This should be done instantly and sincerely with thought right when it is brought up to you. But what if the person bringing something up to you is wrong? Until you are enlightened, if you look sincerely and hard enough at yourself, you will usually find some fault of your own at work in any argument, regardless of whether the origin of the argument was your fault or what the issue the argument was about, or whether or not the claim issued was your fault. For instance, you might be in an argument in which someone else is totally wrong, but you became negative and stopped unselfishly loving. If you have realized enough that you finally understood that there is absolutely no good reason enough to stop loving unselfishly, then you should do an affirmation something like this, regardless of what the argument was about or what the outcome of it was. I am always unselfishly loving. But for it to help, you need to really feel that and mean that when you say it, not just mouth it, or it will not be an effective tool. Consider this also. Affirmations, to be effective, must always be stated as a positive result rather than trying to negate a negative. For instance, in the above example of an argument, the affirmation was not and should not be, I am not negative. I do not get angry, or such. It needs to be phrased in a positive way, something like, I am positive, humble, and unselfishly loving. Do you see the difference? In other words, you always say the good thing that you want to achieve and never use a double negative. Never even give energy to the negative trait that you wish to change, lest you actually feed the negative. Instead, You give energy to the positive trait that will supersede the negative. Also, remember that the subconscious mind is something like a mindless robot. It only obeys and understands things literally. It doesn't figure things out, interpret, or know what you mean. Thus, affirmations should always be stated as already accomplished fact, such as, I am blank, I am such and such, rather than stating them as unaccomplished possible future events like, I will be blank, I will be such and such, or I am going to be blank, or I'm going to be such and such. Or things like, I would like to be more blank. I would like to be more such and such. Wording affirmation in those ways either just won't make sense to the subconscious mind, or it tells the subconscious mind always in the future. It actually prevents the change from ever taking place because we are always in the now. For instance, let's say you were a robot who was holding a spoon and I wanted you to drop your spoon. I would need to figure out exactly what to say to you to make you drop your spoon. If I know that you only take my words literally, just as the subconscious mind does, then I need to phrase my words to you properly, or you won't understand that I want you to drop the spoon and you won't do it. So, if I said to you, you will be dropping the spoon, that literally means to you that you will be dropping the spoon, not that you should drop it now. So, what happens? You hold on to it, waiting for that time in the future when you will be dropping it. But if I say, drop the spoon, or you are dropping the spoon, you would drop it. See? Finally, you must really want to change. If you don't, affirmations will have little effect. What affirmation should I do, Father? He contemplated it for a day and then proceeded to give me my personal affirmations. Then he told me about general ones I should do. Some fundamental positive affirmations. Besides the personal affirmations you come up with, there are some general affirmations that the children have used since Atlantis and are still taught for everyone. These are the standard affirmations as were given to me, and which I give to you now. Morning affirmation. First, conceive of the highest power you can. Obviously, whatever you can grasp of the universal spirit at this time. There is always somewhat of a problem with that when you are still an unenlightened student, because you aren't really capable of conceiving God. Because of the infinite nature of God, it is difficult for the novice to really conceive of God until he has become more familiar with it. Until then, a novice can know the universal spirit best through those beings who are one with and manifesting it. For instance, a universally conscious saint or true teacher that you know. Why them? Because such a person reflects God in their being. It's in their thoughts, words, and actions. It is best if you use the image of a true teacher that you actually know. When you know such a person, you also know the universal spirit in a personal way, manifested before you in day-to-day life. That person can then become an ideal. The ideal then represents God, an enlightened being who is one with God. If you don't know someone personally, just think of the spiritually highest person you have ever learned of, such as Jesus in your case. But for others, it may be Buddha or Mohammed or whomever. Thus, you conceive of the highest power you can and indirectly conceive of God. When you are thinking of your ideal thought, make sure you are not thinking of the person's self, but rather the part of them that is the universal spirit. Now, while you are holding your ideal in mind, say to yourself silently or out loud in private and with full meaning, feeling it not as just a repetition of words. Your will be done, God, whatever name for God you choose, not mine, in me and through me. Show me what I must do this day, and let me be a channel of your blessing to all. As with all the affirmations you do, repeat it for 5 minutes. Evening affirmations. Begin with, my concentration is becoming perfect. That should be done for 2 weeks, then change to, my concentration is perfect. These are basically meant to help develop abilities of concentration that help you do other exercises, but they are good affirmations to be done also. As in your case, a student may also have other evening affirmations specifically for them, and then you should do the dream affirmations, which is the pre-sleep affirmation. This is often the best effective affirmation because you repeat it as you are going to sleep. This carries it deeper into the subconscious. For this reason, your highest priority for affirmation should be done as you go to sleep. If you want to be able to remember your dreams in the morning, or you want to be conscious of your dreams while you are having them, use the following statement as the pre-sleep affirmation until the difficulty is resolved. I remember my dreams and I am conscious while dreaming. This should be this should also be used for its ability to aid in integrating your threefold consciousness. Visualization. You said there were various tools for working with your thoughts and programming. So, other than affirmations, what can I do? Visualization is another means of talking to or making nonverbal affirmations to the subconscious. It is an extremely powerful mental language, and it both programs the subconscious and directs the building blocks of our physical reality, thoughts. Author's note: the results of visualization can be incredible. It can help heal the terminally ill. Scientific studies have shown that basketball players who visualize winning win more games, even if they don't practice. And it has long been used as a powerful tool for magic, both black and white. For our purposes, it can help us attain positive changes in our programming and consciousness. Used with verbal affirmations and a strong desire to change, there is no stopping it. So, how do you do visualizations, Father, other than what it sounds like? Visualization is not something exotic that requires training. It is very easy and natural to do. In fact, everyone does it all the time. some more than others. Surely you have imagined what this or that would be like, or what would happen if this or that took place, etc. Have you ever imagined what you are going to have for dinner, or where you are going after work, or what you will do with so and so? Imagining something is putting it into an image, thus visualizing it. So you see, everyone is already using visualization daily, but using it unconsciously. This means that rather than everyone consciously choosing what to visualize every day, their subconscious minds, under the urging of their separate selves, are doing it behind their backs. And to what ends? Sometimes the unconscious, excuse me, sometimes the unconscious visualization is just something innocuous, like a person imagining what restaurant they will go to lunch for today. But other times it can be very harmful, dwelling on things like selfish desires, jealousy, attachments, addictions, and etc. And actually building these things, ensuring that we will keep them in our life and bring them into our life. To summarize, when we visualize in an unconscious self state of mind, nothing good will become of it, and often it is destructive. So all there really is to it is seeing something being done or already accomplished in our mind's eye. Complete visualization. Essentially, yes. But the more detail you can add to your visualization, the more powerfully it works. Using visualization or imaginations that include more than one of the senses can help. For instance, if you not only visualize what you are going to have for dinner, but you also imagine the smell, the taste, the texture, hear the sounds of the dining room, it will ingrain deeper into your mind. But one of the most powerful adjuncts of detailing a visualization is emotional content. If you can visualize not just the sensation, but also the feeling associated with eating that dinner and being at that restaurant and being with who you are with, you get very effective planting of that in your mind. We call this method of visualizing with emotional and sensational content, complete visualization. For obvious reasons, complete visualizations is the visualization method used by the children since the beginnings in Atlantis. What about combining this way of visualizing things with other techniques? Certainly, using complete visualization is also the most powerful way to supercharge certain meditation techniques. Any technique involving energy visualization leads itself particularly well to feeling the sensation of that energy. For instance, other meditations may work particularly well by deliberately cultivating your emotional feeling. Meditation is not the only growth that can benefit from complete visualization. Using the method as an affirmation or recreating events in the mind are highly effective means of changing programming. For instance, if you were afraid of flying, you could visualize yourself flying. Feel the sensations and most importantly, emotionally feel yourself being happy and enjoying the flight. You could do this as a program before flying again. Or if you have just had a fearful flight experience, you could use it as a corrective recreation. In a recreation scenario, you would see yourself just as you were, but replace the fear with enjoyment and use complete visualization to imagine how events of the flight would have gone had you been happy instead of fearful. What about fear of death? Yes, even that. Fear of death is just generated from the selfish separate self after all. The same method also applies to any aspect of selfishness that you may wish to change. For instance, if you have discovered you are stingy, a cheapskate, and you want to change that, then you could use complete visualization to see yourself feeling good about giving and sharing. Let's say you just had a situation come up where a friend wanted to borrow something and you begrudgingly gave them what they asked for and you didn't feel good about giving it to them. In such an instance, when you recreate in your mind, you replace the unpleasant, begrudging feeling with the feeling of joy that come from giving. If you do this every time a situation comes up or even a negative thought creeps into your head, you will change as long as you really want to. And before long, with consistency and persistence, the negative thoughts won't creep in anymore. The separate self, selfishness, will have given up. Daydreams. Diane once caught me daydreaming, but rather than chastising me for it, he explained how to use it to our advantage. Daydreams are an elaborate and deep form of imagining or visualizing. These can be powerful. These can be powerfully used to your advantage if you construct an elaborate, complete visualization daydream sequence that encompasses what you want to achieve. A warning: affirmations and visualizations are very powerful and must be respected as such. As was said earlier, an affirmation or thought is like a seed, and it is governed by the universal law of cause and effect. What you sow, you shall reap. Thus, affirmation should always be consistent with spiritual purposes and ideas. Also, it is better to use affirmations and visualizations only for developing of positive traits and positively changing your subconscious programming. And even then, it should be done with the inclusion of conditional affirmations like only if it is within the will of the universal spirit. Because with such a separate point of view, you don't always know what is really best in a given situation. And you could cause problems by using an affirmation or visualization to do specifically what you think is right. For example, let's say you are feeling a pain in your foot. So you decide to do an affirmation to not feel the pain in your foot. There are many problems with this. Number one, the sensation, the pain, may be telling you something you need to know about the condition of your foot that you should attend to before it gets worse. Number two, you could damage your foot because of the lack of sensation. You could ram it into things repeatedly, accidentally, but a chair leg on it, etc. Put a chair leg on it, etc. Number three, You may be denying yourself a raise in consciousness from transcending that pain. Number 4, also, you could be missing the gift of getting to the source of why you are having the problem in the first place. A person should usually eliminate the cause rather than masking the effect. The same applies to prayer. Michelle warned us of the possible problems during a lecture on affirmations and prayer in the Hall of the Pyramid. Let's say someone is ill. You could pray for their illness to be removed or healed, but that may not be the best thing for the person's whole being. You may be denying them the chance in consciousness being offered to them through the illness. Healing should be from within, or at least occur simultaneously. Instead of trying to override universal will or asking God, praying to heal someone, the very doing of such a thing egotistically implies that the universal spirit in hierarchy either doesn't know what is best, but that you do, or it implies that God probably just didn't know about it, which makes no sense either. Or it means you personally needed to ask, or God would do nothing about it. It is all egotistical and absurd. You must be very important, and God must be very inadequate and misinformed for such and such to be the case. If you are humble and have realized the existence of universal will, then you will probably just visualize the person surrounded in light and affirm your concern and desire for the universal spirit to do whatever is best in that situation, not what you think is best for the situation. There is an old story you may know called The Monkey's Paw. That is a very good allegory for this lesson of asking or praying for specific things. There are many variations to this story, but they all offer the same essential lesson. The story goes like this. A family comes into possession of a magical monkey's paw that has the power to grant its owners 3 wishes. But for their first wish, they ask for a large sum of money. At first, nothing seems to happen, but then, sometime later, the son is killed at work, mangled beyond recognition, as he gets caught in some machinery. The exact amount of money wished for comes in the form of the son's life insurance policy. Days later, after the son has been buried, his mother, who is totally broken up over the boy's death, wishes him brought back to life. The son is given life again, but in the same condition as he lay in the ground. As the son claws at the front door of the house trying to get in, his father, realizing the situation, wishes the son back to the grave and destroys the monkey paw in a fire. The moral? We don't know the details of the consequences of what we wish, pray, or do magic for. And we can unintentionally cause terrible things to happen by forcing something we want to happen or getting it to supernaturally via prayer, mind power, or magic. Let those who have the full awareness and omnipotent overview make such decisions. Watch what you ask for. You might just get it, and you just might get the unknown consequences. Like I just mentioned, not only does this warning apply to prayer and other forms of wishes, it applies to the practice of magic. When I say magic, most people think of black magic, and some think of white magic. Both types of magic use visualization, affirmations, and possible ritual to make something happen the way they want. By definition, the practitioner of black magic seeks what they want at any cost, including harming others. It may also be used to deliberately harm others. White magic practitioners generally draw the line at consciously doing anything that would harm someone else. Sometimes people don't consider visualization or prayer to be any kind of magic. After all, it only involves visualizing or pushing for what they want that, in their opinion, would be good for them or others, like a promotion or a new car or world peace or something or someone who is ill getting better. But it can have the same results as black magic because the practitioners don't know what will need to happen in order to make their desires materialize. The monkey's paw demonstrated how this can happen. Those people didn't want to hurt anyone, but they did. Furthermore, many methods of personal growth and achievements are being touted today that are really only magic in disguise. I knew a banker who told me that everyone at his bank was required to do training in which they would visualize their success. He was actually taught in a seminar to see himself having lots of money, driving a Cadillac, answering calls as a branch manager, etc. He was being taught magic with no concerns or warning as to its possible ramifications. And with such visualizations, there is no predications of how this will be accomplished or even a safety affirmation clause like, if it is within universal will. What if the only way he can become branch manager is for another branch manager to have a car accident and die? These kind of dangerous yet disguised magic techniques are being taught in seminars. They are everywhere. Their success is spawned by the combination of the cleverness of the dark forces and the selfish separate self's desire to maintain control and get what it wants. Thus, people are easily sold on using such techniques. As usual, the self will twist the truth to its own advantage. You hear people talk about creating their own reality, which is true and necessary to realize in order for their inner being to take control, but it is selfishly twisted around so that they think that it means creating such things as a winter house in Aspen, and they don't know or consider what might occur in order to make that happen. They use techniques to attract wealth, not realizing it is black magic, couched in a pretty package, and that it can cause disastrous results. They talk about visualizing visualizing world peace, but they don't understand that it could mean peace because we're all slaves to a tyrannical world government run by a new Hitler, and all opposition has been crushed. If the monkey's paw story wasn't enough to get the point across, Let me give you one more story from my personal experiences that makes the point. About 25 years ago, we were moving to a new city. Since we needed new cars, we flew there and started shopping for cars. I went to a car dealer, met the owner, and, as will sometimes happen, we got into a long, intense spiritual and metaphysical conversation. He was a metaphysician and practiced visualization and magic to get what he wanted. We debated about the right and wrongs of causing things to happen yourself. It was a friendly debate. He argued his point, and I argued mine. It is dangerous to take things into our own hands in the way you prescribed, I said. You can't know all the details that will be involved, and some could cause great harm. To train to be able to make things happen metaphysically in one thing, but we shouldn't use powers directly with our limited viewpoint. He said, I disagree. We totally create our own reality. And if we are not trying to harm anyone else, what is the harm in improving your own life? His arguments were perfectly logical, of course, but greater insight goes beyond that logic. I tried to explain the concept of consciousness, hierarchy, and that hierarchical consciousness was superior to ours. I believe we should just allow the hierarchy to work through us if they see that it is necessary. Otherwise, we can make trouble for ourselves and others. He, of course, disagreed. We were about to leave, but unbeknownst to me, a lesson was in the works, in which the hierarchy would try to make the point to him in no uncertain terms. The car dealer walked us out to our rental car. It would not start. It was late, about 11 p.m. by the time we'd finish our discussion. Along the lines of our debate, he said he could make it start with magic, and it would be of benefit to us. I know such things can be done because I've seen it and done it myself under certain circumstances. But this wasn't one of those circumstances. You're tired and need to get to your hotel, he said. Now look, I can make it start, and it will just prove my point. I believe he could have made it start under normal circumstances, but the hierarchy was actually preventing it, and he couldn't override it. I knew the car was not starting for some reason other than mechanical. At the time, I thought it was just to show him he wasn't as powerful as he thought. Take his ego down a notch, and perhaps give him a chance to learn a little more humility. But you never know. All I knew for sure was that I sensed the powers of light were at work. At the time, excuse me, at that, the hierarchy didn't want it to start for some reason, and that was good enough for me. There are higher spiritual forces at work here. Ralph, I know you are capable of making it start. You don't have to prove anything to me, but I don't want you to make it start. I am capable of such things myself, and I'd just do it myself if I knew for certain it was right. But, as I said earlier, I won't interfere with what I believe are higher consciousness forces of light taking care of things. He tried anyway. It didn't work. Finally, he gave up and offered to lend me one of the other cars on his lot. It wouldn't start either. Then another. Then another. Then another. These were not junkers either. They were new and barely used BMWs, Jaguars, Mercedes, Porsches, Corvettes, etc. Yet nothing would start. Finally, after about 20 cars, he was getting a little jangled because of the strangeness of this occurring after our conversation and the ridiculous odds against none of his fine cars starting. I'm really sorry about this. I don't get it. I'll drive you to your hotel myself and have your car ready and delivered to you first thing in the morning. Interestingly enough, his car started. But then, halfway to the hotel, it died and would not restart. This is ridiculous. It's blank unbelievable, he said as he pounded his steering wheel in frustration. I'll go call my wife and have her pick us up. I'm really sorry about this, John. No need to be sorry. It's out of your control. There's some reason for this. He just looked at me with a frightened, perplexed stare, then walked off. We were in a bad industrial area of the city, and he had to walk 2 blocks to reach a phone. A half hour later, his wife arrived, and again we were off to the hotel. When we got near the hotel, we were stopped at a roadblock. There were ambulances, paramedics, police, and flashing lights everywhere. What's going on? We asked the police officer at the roadblock. There's been a chemical spill of some kind. We're getting everyone out. Ralph argued with the police in his typical New York style, but these people have a hotel at blank, and they've got to get there. The officer responded politely, even though Ralph's comment was rude and stupid. That's right near the center of the spill. I'm afraid you're going to have to find another hotel because I can't let you in there. It was a serious toxic chemical that was dumped by a tanker truck that was in an accident with another semi. They had evacuated and hospitalized people in and around the area of the hotel. Had the cars started and had his car not broken down, we would have been in the midst of it right when it happened. The next day, all his cars started easily. Who do you think it would be smarter to defer to regarding the actions and events in your life? Your selfish, separate self? Or someone or something like a guardian angel? Someone with far greater insight, who has greater wisdom and the best intentions for everyone in mind. I can't tell you how many other examples I've seen of the hierarchy to the rescue, and some of those times I had to look very foolish. It was always worth it, whether I knew the outcome or not. A few last words. Here are a few things I want to stress. The subconscious is also programmed through strong desires and fears. And remember, whatever one holds as an ideal affects the programming. Also see chapter on ideas. Be aware of all these things. Your programming can be altered, and be very discriminating as to what you allow to enter and what you allow to remain. But most importantly, one more time, You must really want to change. Okay, that's the end of chapter 16. We've been reading The Children of the Law of One. And can you believe it? We did a chapter in one take. Yay! One upload. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that the information was valuable to you. I know it was for me. Share it with somebody so that we all may be on a better path. How does that sound? Okay? So we'll be on chapter 17 on the next video at page 257. All right? So until next time.